That's a team coordinated effort, because there's spotters up there saying, "Hey, coach, you gotta," because he can't look at the jumbotron, because there's literally a split second in between plays sometimes. And if for example Robert Foster, they called it an incomplete pass, but he had 2 feet in, and they called it incomplete. What if Sean McDermott's on the other side of the field? He can't see that, and they may not show it on the jumbotron. So that's what the spotters are there for, and I think they kind of let them down a little bit this year.
I would agree. Really, the dynamic, it kind of cut out on me, but the part you said about Brian Daboll possibly leaving Buffalo, that is interesting, because it is an offensive league, and typically if an offense is doing real well, that offensive coordinator gets gobbled up. I could even point to a scenario this year where the team fired their coach. They went with a defensive-minded head coach or interim head coach, and then their offensive coordinator that they promoted as from the running backs coach ended up doing really, really well. The offense did really, really well. The rookie quarterback did really, really well. And then that interim offensive coordinator got the head coaching job in Freddie Kitchens in Cleveland. So that could definitely happen. And it makes me believe that if Brian Daboll were to get a new head coaching job, that quite possibly Ken Dorsey could be the offensive coordinator kind of waiting in the wings. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, that's interesting. I really don't know his background much. We'll see. Obviously, they think he's qualified enough to be in that quarterback room. It helps to have Derek Anderson as well. Say what you will about his play last year. He was 35 and wasn't expected to play.
Right.
But yeah, I said Daboll leaving because if that offense takes flight, if we see a different, improved passing Josh Allen, and they get in with say, for example, their offense is top 10, for example, he's going to get snatched up by someone. I guarantee that. And, even I think there were even reports from ESPN Green Bay Packers reporter, Rob D. I couldn't pronounce his last name, but he even said that they were looking at Brian Daboll already.
Right.
Before they hired
Green Bay was really interested.
LaFleur.
Yeah.
LaFleur.
And I'm a little to talk about Green Bay just for a second. I was shocked when they hired LaFleur. I thought that didn't make any sense, but that's neither here nor there. We'll just throw it out there. But to shift gears here, you're pretty confident in the direction of the Bills. You think that they're headed in the right direction, to say the least, right? You got some question marks, just as do I, but your optimism level, 1 out of 10, where does it sit right now, heading into 2019?
Free agency, pre-draft, a 7.
A 7. Okay, I would agree with that. That's fair. That's definitely fair. Where does it rest with the Buffalo Sabres?
Oh, you're killing me. I knew this was coming. Oh, you follow me on Twitter. We're friends on Facebook. Oh, goodness, Ryan. You're doing that just to kill me, huh? I've said 2 words this year ever since it has been a collapse.
Right.
And it has been a collapse, and it is a tragedy. I understand the expectations, but again, it is your GM talks about parity in the league. It's not that hard to make the playoffs in the NHL. It's not. We've seen it. Colorado and New Jersey 2 years ago were some of the worst teams in the league, and they made it to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not good again this year, but they made it last year. And so when you're late November, you're in first place in the league, and in 6 weeks you're out of it, and right now, with still a month, 19 games left, a month to go, you're in 20th place in the league. There's something wrong there.
Yeah.
And you have the GM talking about, how they're communicating with the coaches, and yet you have Jack Eichel, your captain, saying that they weren't ready to play. So what is it? It's literally as when you were a little kid and you were at your grandma's house or whatever, and she gave you a piece of paper and a marker, and you're just drawing, you're just doing all these types of lines on the paper. That's literally the Buffalo Sabres right now. They're literally going in so many different directions. I have no idea. And you have Housley calling out his team, which is fine because they were soft the game against the Rangers. I don't know what he meant by that. I hate the word toughness now. It's not the 1970s, 80s. And then you have to say, oh, I believe in this group. We're not out of it. I mean, it's just, this team always finds a way to let me down, and it's continuing. They're wasting Jack Eichel, and they wasted his whole entire rookie contract. I hope to God they don't do it with Rasmus Dahlin, because this is one special player, and you can see it already.
Right. I would definitely agree with everything, and like to hear your frustration it's almost, I don't want to say it's a breath of fresh air, but it is good to know in a way. And I will say in a way it is a breath of fresh air, because it doesn't go unnoticed. Everything that you just said and illustrated there is valid. I have no idea what the hell is going on with this team. I don't think at any point in my Buffalo sports fandom, whether it's Bills or Sabres, have I ever been just flat out clueless to what the hell is going on.
And I'm gonna give you credit, because during the 10-game winning streak, you're like, oh, this is Buffalo Sabres that we haven't seen since the Dream Briere days. It's magic. You know,
right.
They're coming back. They're winning in overtime. They're finding ways to win. They're having good goaltending. And it's just, maybe it was just the 10-game winning streak that just set us off. But when a 10-game winning streak happens, new expectations. Seriously.
Oh, for sure.
New expectations have to be set. You know, when is the bar going to be higher? You know, kind of like, you know, we're talking about with the Bills. I understand Bottrell's here, but he's had 2 off seasons of just tearing this roster apart. 2 totally different seasons with 2 totally different rosters. I understand the development, but you have Jack Eichel, you have Sam Reinhart. They're not young anymore. They've been in the league. You have 4 players that are really young, and Tage Thompson, Casey Middleset, and Rasmus Dahlin, and Linus Ullmark. But you can make the playoffs. All they had to do was go 500 the rest of the way, and we could easily right now, instead of talking about another offseason of no playoffs, we could be talking about potential first round matchups. How can they just sustain to get in? But of course, we're not talking about that.
There's a huge disparity of like goals. I mean, as far as Jeff Skinner, he's been the guy that's been really carrying the sword or saber, so to speak, for the Buffalo Sabres these last few months since the start of the season. If they don't make the playoffs, and you're Jeff Skinner, and you know you're about to be a free agent, you know that you just played probably the best hockey you've ever had in your whole career, do you stay in Buffalo, or do you try to use that as leverage and essentially, quote unquote, get paid by whoever's willing to pay you?
Well, here's the thing again. We're that kid at grandma's, and she gave us another piece of paper, and we're continuing to scribble because he wants to stay in Buffalo, right? He said that, but it's also July 1st. It's stupid season. It's where teams overpay, and his agent is not stupid. He knows that. His agent can tell him, "Hey, we know you want to stay in Buffalo, but if they don't give us what we want, someone's going to overpay for you because of your goals." And with that, I think there's a price. I have no source of knowledge, no insider information, because I think if it was under $10 million, $9.5, $9 million a year, I think a deal would have been done already. And you have the 8th year because now it's after the deadline. I think a deal could have been done already. But now, since they could wait till free agency, I think they'll get it done. Everything that if you follow Pierre LeBrun, Bob McKenzie, Darren Dreger, 3 of the best reporters in all of sports when it comes to insiders. They said that it's going well. I think it's going to get done. But boy, Ryan, if it doesn't, free agency is on July 1st. There's going to be early 4th of July fireworks in Buffalo if he walks. I'm telling you that right now.
Right. I think it would be apocalyptic for the Buffalo Sabres to not bring back Jeff Skinner. If for whatever reason, if he goes to another team, they'll have a hard time selling out a game. I mean, I know for me, as a fan of the Sabres, I can honestly say I am kind of close to the end of my rope. My rope is a lot shorter with the Sabres than it is with the Bills. And I've said this to people, and they say, why? And I say, well, when you've seen the Sabres actually have more success than the Bills in this last, century, in the last this millennium, we'll say, and they've just squandered it time and time again by letting players go or trading players that they shouldn't be trading or getting a crappy return for a player that they're trading. How can you be a fan of that? How can you sign up for that and continue to say to yourself, I'll support this? Because essentially saying that you're a fan of something is supporting it. Right, we are sick. That's a fact. but
I was really ticked, Ryan, last year when Ryan O'Reilly said that he lost the love for the game, and he kept saying over and over for all this 3 seasons that he'd been in Buffalo, I have to be better, I have to be better, I have to be better. And I was happy when he got traded, but my God, was I wrong. They could have used him. He potentially could have been the reason why they don't make the playoffs, Ryan, because if they had a competent, really good second line center, how much of a difference he would have made on this team. I mean, I understand why they did it, but man, it's looking bad. Saboka is terrible. Tage Thompson is a work in progress, but we see his flaws. And Berglund just left, and a first-round pick is a first-round pick. But I know you. He flipped it into Brandon Montour, but it's looking rough.
And the Montour trade, that being that's really recent news. What were your thoughts on that trade initially?
I liked it.
You liked it,
like it,
right?
Because he's someone that I really want in a defenseman. His defense could be suspect, but you saw it if you watched the game. The goal, Casey Middlesack goal, he started the breakout. He started that. That's what defensemen in the NHL nowadays should be able to do. He's fast. He's top 5 in offensive zone entries, successful offensive zone entries. He's top 5. He's up there with Roman Josi. He's up there with the top defensemen in the league. So I like it. He's a restricted free agent. He has 1 year left. You only have 50 contracts. There's only so many first-round picks you can have. I think it was a good deal.
As far as Housley's job security, I've debated this with every single person that I could possibly. I do sit on the side of the fence where I think if they fire him, that's fine. If they want to go that route and they want to fire the coach and start over with a new coach, okay. But my question is, who do they bring in if they do fire him? If they fire anyone, I want to have a contingency plan of as far as where they're going to go, who they're going to bring in. There's some names out there that are decent, that have had winning traditions in the league and credibility, but where do you stand on the Phil Housley ordeal right now?
Again, I'm looking pretty bad. I think I loved the hire when he was first hired. I think we all did.
Mm-hmm. He was the guy I wanted. I mean, he really was.
And again, I think the team effort. He has the team that he has is from the GM, right?
Right.
But some of these decisions he makes, and I think both the GM and him make together. I mean, take a look. I did a little prep for the show. You had last night the bottom 6: Wilson, Saboka, Pominville. Now, Pominville's only efficient and effective scoring has 14 goals, but most of them is with Eichel and Skinner.
Right.
Then you have Girgensons, Larson, and Kyle Okposo. You think that's playoff caliber bottom 6? And then the GM's talking about development, and the coach also talks about development. But yet Thompson is was a healthy scratch. I don't get that.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. It doesn't make much sense.
And just he, I don't know. You have, I think he's slow, but he's a smart player, and that's what they're missing. Matt Homewick. That's what this team needs more, is smart hockey players. And he's not playing as well. He can pass. He's not gifted offensively at all. He's smart in his own end, and that's what they're missing. I would love to see Matt Homewick play. Is it going to make a whole bunch of a difference? No, but again, it's decision making. I don't know.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
Right.
And in terms of, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, we've seen Tim Murray at his press conference say that Dan Bylsma's safe, and then 10 days later, they're both fired. So, because he refused to fire him. So, just because Jason Botterill said there will be no coaching change doesn't mean there will be, but I don't think there will be. I don't think after 2 years, Jason Botterill is going to say, oh, hey, I made a mistake here, even though coaches in the NHL can be replaced, and we've seen it.
And that's the thing. I mean, the NHL does work a lot differently than any other league. There's a key word that oftentimes gets missed out on in hockey for whatever reason, and I feel like it's because it's such a offensive game now, as much as it ever has been. Chemistry, though, like chemistry to me, I mean, continuity as well to a degree, but chemistry more so. I've noticed each and every night that the Sabres Twitter posts, the starting lines of the game, brought to you by Reed's Gens. They show the starting lineup, and it's different every single night. Where I understand that. I understand why that might be the case. But to me, and I'm not saying that I would do a better job than Phil Housley. That's not what I'm saying at all. But to me, when you see the lines made, and they're different every single night, how can players gel together? How can you build chemistry, or quote unquote in his words, and with what you were saying he says, which I know he said this, development. How can you develop players by constantly interchanging them, putting players out on the ice that are veterans that probably 2-3 years from now not only might not even be on the Buffalo Sabres, but might not even be in the National Hockey League? It's a very tough pill to swallow to see Bogosian with Dahlin, or with Montour with Marco Scandella. It just, I don't get it.
Yeah, and I'm into high analytics. I look at analytics. I look at all that, and Dahlin and Bogosian have been, they've been effective, but I don't want him with Bogosian. Put him with Montour.
Right.
Put Dahlin with Montour. I mean, why not? Why not? Why couldn't he say, oh, hey, Montour's first game, put him with Dahlin and see what they can do?
Do you know offhand how many? You might not offhand, but do you know how many minutes Montour played last night? Because I didn't see that.
I am honestly not sure.
Not sure. Yeah.
I would say probably anything between 15 to 18.
Oh, okay. So he played quite a. So was he on the second defensive pairing last night?
I think he was on third.
Third,
yeah,
okay.
He had 18-11 of ice time.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's more than I thought he'd had, because I watched the game last night and I just thought to myself it didn't look like he was out there a whole lot. But that's pretty legitimate, pretty decent ice time. There's a writer out there by the name of Chad Denominix. He writes for the Die by the Blade. He's the editor-in-chief and all that fun stuff of that site.
I've had him on as a guest.
Awesome.
Chad's awesome.
Yeah, good guy, yeah. And he went on WGR and was talking about Rasmus Ristolainen and how horrible his plus-minus rating is. And I know plus-minus rating isn't everything, but he basically said that every time Rasmus Ristolainen, every time Risto is out on the ice, he makes the Sabres players around him worse, and that he needs to be traded. I'm I'm kind of in the middle on that because I like Ristolainen. I feel like he's physical. I feel like he hits well, and I feel like he actually protects the net, which is something that no other Sabres defenseman outside of Dahlin seems to do. So what are your thoughts on the possibility of Ristolainen, being traded? There was a lot of talk about it. Now, obviously, the trade deadline's passed, but do you think that could happen in the future?
Oh, for sure. I think it's kind of the same thing with Ryan O'Reilly, right? I think that's the trade deadline is where talks start, and in the summer, around the draft, free agency, things heat up. And I think he could. I think also they say, hey, let's, Dahlin's going to be in his second year. We still have Bogosian, unfortunately. We can lower your minutes and see what you do with it, because there's a huge sample size of he cannot handle those top minutes. He can't. And if he's second pairing with, 18 to 20 minutes a night, can he handle that? I do not. Again, this comes in with coaching decisions, I don't want him on the first power play. Why is he on the first power play? I can bring up 5 guys on the power play. Eichel, Skinner, Reinhart. You can even put Poso. Poso's been effective on the power play. And Dahlin. Why is he on the power play? Even now with Montour, put Montour on the first unit power play. He can be on the second, but why is he he can't get shots through. He can't get shots through on that. I don't know. He's, again, a lot of 50-50 in this podcast, but that's where he is with me.
Right. I think that's the consensus of Buffalo sports, 50-50 between the Bills and the Sabres.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, I'm going to have to wrap it up. We definitely did a great show, and I really appreciate you coming on. I definitely feel like you will be on again. Something tells me that you will be on.
I cannot wait. I enjoyed this. This was excellent.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. I'll be in touch. Look forward to having you on again.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye. All right, that was Brandon Koch of 716 Sports Post. I'm Ryan Thomas. Take care.